All right, and welcome to another exciting episode of Technology Tuesday. I'm your host, Greg Russell, and I am with my good friend, Mr. Jerry Franklin Poe, also the host of Technology Tuesday, and we are back for our 6th season, and I'm excited to share with you guys some tips, resources, thoughts, inspiration on Technology Tuesday, as we do every Tuesday. So today, guys, we're going to have a real heartfelt conversation about what's going on in our country and in our businesses and in our lives. And we welcome you to tune in, leave comments. So let us know where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to hashtag if you're checking us out live or on the replay. And so with that, we are going to get ready to start our show right now. Great. So guess what? I got another error, Jerry. So without our intro video, if you could just start us off right quick, and then I will get that hooked up.
Oh no problem, man. Like this is beginning of the new year, beginning with new glitches. Um we so you said six seasons. Like I know 100 episodes, that's when a TV show, a sitcom could get into syndication. So I don't know how close we are to 100 or if we passed 100. But 6 seasons is an accomplishment. Some TV shows don't make it or don't have the consistency to have a that many um
Yeah.
years or seasons at the belt. So even though we may not have the nationwide distribution as of yet that you see with like a Jamie Foxx show or a Martin or In Living Color. I'm dating myself with these references for all the grown folks tuning in. You know what I'm talking about,
Yes, sir.
the the Wayne's brothers, you know.
Yes, sir.
Uh but the fact that it's been going on for this long, and I mean you think about we were in COVID when we decided that we were going to make this a habit, right? Every Tuesday, get on here at 2 p.m. and broadcast. And the fact that it's continued for the post COVID years, even now into 2026.
Yes, sir. Man, it's amazing. And I got the file connected, so I knew what happened. But yeah, man, 6 years. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to share, um, a lot of history, and even our businesses have changed and grown over that time. And I'm thankful and blessed that we are here today, and able to continue this show that we started so many years ago. Jerry, with that, I do have it hooked up, so we're going to start it right now. At least I thought it was. It's supposed to. Okay, so FYI, since it's not running. Oh, I know why it's not running. I'm ready now. All
All
right.
right, all right. So, folks, that's a prime example of resilience, perseverance, pushing through when things don't go wrong. So, if it happens to us, that means it happens to the best of them. So, it happens to all of us. So, don't threat, don't get down, don't get, under, you know, you get so caught up into the emotions when things aren't going right into your business and things aren't going right with your presentation. You just keep moving forward and, do better next time.
Yes, sir. So with that, man, let's start this interesting conversation about what's going on, because I wanted to think about some things that were going on in technology, but the truth of the matter is, uh, today, which is the last few days of January, and what's going on with our country, we can't kind of ignore the tension, the stress, the frustration, the annoyance that many Americans and entrepreneurs feel So, Jerry, I want to start it off, man. Listen, I know many of us have seen the news and have seen the challenges, what's going on with ICE agents in Minnesota, and yeah, man, I want to have a heartfelt conversation about it. I think that some views and opinions from two entrepreneurs could really help those who are also dealing with some of the challenges that what's going with some of the challenges that what's going on can affect us. So we'll start it off with there. I'll let you crack it open.
Okay, I thought you was gonna get some more out there. Okay. Um, yeah, so couple things. For me, the key is, or the phrase that you'd want to look at is, how do you gain clarity in chaos? Because what happens is that these incidents, and there's going to be multiple incidents. I mean, this incident that just happened recently was extremely terrible, and um unnecessary in terms of the damage to the family, to the friends, to all the people that are connected to um, the gentleman Alex. And then the byproduct of that is that once these moments become viral, it spread because there were so many videos, because there was so much happening this weekend. It spread really fast, and you compound that with false narratives that are being created. So when the false narrative is created, now people will say, "Well, no, let me show this video even more because I want to correct the narrative." And as entrepreneurs or business people who sometimes try to stay out the fray, who try to stay above the politics, the stuff, they try to stay, like, in a space where it's like, oh, I want to just focus on this and focus on my business and focus on my family. There are times when these incidents become so large, so big, so um impactful, that it starts to hit you as well. And so then it's like, well, how do you get clarity? How do you get clarity out of this chaos? Because once you get exposed to it, it's going to have the same emotional reaction. You're going to have some reaction to it, because you're human beings. All of us are human. And the question is, like, what do you do with that so you don't get completely thrown out of the mindset to focus on the things that are productive for you and productive for your life. And not to say that you shouldn't take time for the human aspect. I mean, it's always important to remember that mindset, wellness, mental health are important, and take time to process things, because the video footage and what happened is traumatic. And then the more you see it, the more of a traumatic feeling you have. But now, neither one of us, Greg or myself, we're not doctors, we're not social work, we're not medical health professionals, so we didn't go to school for that. But we're just sharing. I'm sharing my perspective as to what I do, because this is not the first incident within the last, you know I mean, this year, there's been two incidents within a couple weeks now, and all these incidents are occurring within a speaking of COVID, right, within close radius to where the George Floyd incident happened multiple years ago. So for some people, this is even more traumatic because it's triggering other things that they saw within that same space, especially if you live in the area of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think what you said was really important when you mentioned about how they changed the narrative. Now, I remember a show called um, what was the show called with Olivia Pope? What was the show called?
You talking about Scandal?
Scandal, right? And I remember watching Scandal, and I remember how they would try to spin a situation, right? And it was like when you're watching the television show, and they would have a scandal or something, they would try to get in front of it by telling their narrative first. And this is exactly what happened. I believe, I think this is what happened with this situation where, they got the situation and they tried to get in front of it and go put their narrative out there. And when you listen to both, the guy and the girl, I'll forget her name, whatever her name is, not really important, but they were almost similar word for word. So they had this statement, and except for minor a sentence here, a sentence there, it was word for word almost the same. And the thing is, it was not what most people saw with their own eyes. And so it's like, you're telling me one thing, but I am seeing another, right? And for most people, it's like that's, and for a lot of people, they don't realize that, you know, TV and movies, they portray real life. Like they show things, and sometimes they exaggerate it and sometimes they don't. But I remember Olivia Pope being like, how can we spin this? And she was really good for spinning a situation. And I truly believe that's what happened right there, where they were trying to spin that situation. The challenge is in today's time, where everyone has a camera with a phone on it and everything can be shown, what you try to spin now is hard to um, just people take it when they can see something different for themselves. And so if we can spin this, if we can see it being spun here, then for me, my question goes up, well, what else have you been trying to spin and say one thing was one thing and it wasn't? And so I think it starts to, for me, uh, bother me because it's like, now I know that they were doing this, for you and I, people of color, we have for a long time known that things will happen and it will just be said that something else happened. And I think that, for a lot of people seeing this, it's like a lot of times, TV and reality, you know, imitate life. And this is one of them situations where, like, listen, I saw that on TV. I know that wasn't, we all can see that it wasn't what we believe to be true of this situation. And yet you try to say it was something else. And I think that for a lot of people, it is now what, you can now take that and say, okay, I'm pretty sure that this is not the first time. There have been many times where certain situations were just spun. And how many times where there wasn't video evidence, right? Where you couldn't see it, where they just said, this is what it is. And I'm not trying to blame one side or the other. I'm trying to just say, hey, shine a light on this thing. Like, look, a lot of times media in general, regardless of which side you on, or which side you voted for, a lot of times mainstream media will feed you the story that they want you to go with, and it's not always necessarily the truth.
Yeah. Well, so couple things there. Like, so the I when I was working for a political campaign, even before that, like this is probably some marketing lessons I learned almost 10 years ago. I was talking to someone, and the key is here. There's two words. It's called optics, and the other word is called narrative. So optics and narrative. The challenge is that when the optics and the narrative are so diametrically opposed, that's when you have a major crisis. So even so, Olivia Pope, like when you watch, if you go back and watch the scandal, and like some things happen, right? But it's like you can only you can you there's so many there's different strategies. This strategy that Christy Nome and Greg Vivino and Cash Patel, I'll put their names out there.
Thank you,
Like
sir.
they can come look for me. Um, the challenge with the narrative that they were putting out is it's so far away from what people are seeing. And the strategy, like this goes back to, if you look at, if we take it to a business lesson aspect, that you have to make sure you have the right tool for the right job. Now, I'm not, this is not, this, and I want to be careful here. Like, we're just not talking about any justification of the behavior at all, because the behavior of trying to justify what happened or change the narrative, we're not advocating that at all. But if you're talking about in context of the show Scandal and Olivia Pope, they would have more than one strategy, and the strategy that they employed and this is something that we got to be careful with as well as business people, is are you using when you're using a strategy, is the strategy effective or ineffective? They're using an ineffective strategy, and when they use the ineffective strategy, it's causing more damage because the situation was already terrible as it is. They're making the situation worse for themselves by denying what people are actually seeing rather than leaning into it and being empathetic and trying to say we're going to get to the bottom of this, or we need to investigate this, we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. So sometimes what when you say the spin, as you're referring to, in many cases the spin is to lean into the situation, and this time their spin was to try and make you believe, I think they call it gaslighting now. That's what they're doing. But what I want folks that are listening to, unless you have, is anything you wanted to share something else?
No, we just yeah, no.
Yeah. So I want folks that are listening that these things that are happening right now are heavy, and for some of us, Greg probably knows this because he's been around me long enough that people call me a walking encyclopedia because I just have random knowledge just floating in my head. What we're the life goes in cycles. I just finished watching a documentary called Breaking Down 1975. Well, in 1975, the country was realizing that the government was corrupt because you had Watergate and you had all these things. Well, right now it's 2000. We just came out of 2025, now into 2026. It's almost 50 years later. We went through a cycle where people were questioning the government, and then things died down. Everybody was like, "Oh no, things cool. We don't want to worry about. We want to watch Star Wars and Jaws and all this other type of stuff." And then now we're back to a point where everybody's like, the government isn't all it's cracked up to be. Well, the reality is, a lot of us are living in an illusion to begin with, that the system was infallible. The system's been fallible the whole time because the system has human beings, and it takes human beings to have what Martin Luther King would call um, uh, moral fabric. You have to have a high level of morality in order to make sure the system continues to run. And we're not operating from the same levels of truth, the same levels of facts, then the system in itself, you start to see how um, fragile it is. And we're living in a state right now where people are actually starting to experience the fragility of the actual system that they thought was strong. That America isn't as strong as you thought it was. America was only as strong as the actual people in the institutions doing what they believe to be right for everyone, right? If you're not doing what's best for the people, then you have some challenges. Well, so the question I want folks to think about is like, well, what do you do? Because a lot of times when this happens, you start to feel a certain way because you feel like power is being zapped from you, energy is being zapped from you, your emotions are in a fray. And this is why I mentioned the idea of creating clarity in the chaos, because all of us aren't going to be on the front lines of the revolution. Everyone didn't march with Malcolm, and everybody wasn't out there with Malcolm. Like everybody wasn't a Black Panther. Everybody wasn't with any of the sit. Everybody didn't do a sit-in. Like there was everybody has different positions. Like some people have to be Martin Luther King. Some people need to be Andrew Young. Somebody has to be Ralph Abernathy. Like somebody has to be Diane Nash. So there's all different roles for us to play when you see something and it bothers you and you feel that there's an injustice or you want to make a change. And the key for us, I would say, Greg, is to pick your point of view on terms of how you can make an impact. Because all of us have a way we can impact situations to make them better, but each one of those ways is going to be different. It's kind of like lemonade. And you know that phrase is like you take lemons and you turn lemons into lemonade. Well, there's multiple flavors of lemonade. Like there's hard lemonade, there's pink lemonade, there's like you can Google like how many lemonades are out there, and Google
Yes,
will
sir.
say I don't know because there's countless types of lemonade. Anybody can mix a fruit, strawberry lemonade. Like it's like my daughters be drinking like a blueberry lemonade at Texas Roadhouse. Plug the Texas Roadhouse if you want to sponsor the show. Like, so for us, it's about when these situations occur, how do you take this and use this mess to cultivate a message for good?
Mm.
How do you take something that's evil and turn it into something that is good? How do you take something that's disempowering and make it empowering? Like, yes, this situation is horrible. It's traumatic. It's I can't even fathom what his family is going through, right? And I don't want to get too wrapped up because I don't want to cry on the show. However, all of us aren't going to be able to fly out to Minneapolis and be on the front lines. But there is something that we can do where we are with the platforms that we have, with the businesses that you have, with the audience that you have. So the key for you is how do you take the mess that you're feeling and you turn that into a message? How do you take that level or that disempowerment and make it something more empowering? There's things that you could look at in the situation and then offer some insight, some advice, some tips on people who are maybe processing this, and there's something that you can offer to give them hope. Well, first you got to find hope for yourself. The first person you got to give hope to is you. And it's hard to find hope in darkness.
Mm.
That's a tricky thing. And that's why it takes, when things are going good, it takes us in those moments of building up our emotional intelligence in the good moments so we can have a reservoir to tap into in the dark moments. Sometimes people just like coast
Yeah.
when everything's going good. And then when it gets to these heavy moments, they're like they have nothing to draw back on.
I, I
So
I think
go
that's
ahead.
interesting, man. I wasn't expecting it to go that way. But that's why we ask the questions we ask. And so my question for you is, can you give me an example of just one, two, or possibly three things that someone can do um, that can give hope to someone else, right?
Yeah. So if you have a young person in your life, it may be a family member, it could be um if you're if you have a community center, like maybe talk to some of these younger folks and help them process what they're seeing. like for me personally, creating I've been creating spaces with some of the charitable organizations or nonprofit organizations that I work with to like let them express what they're feeling. Like if you're feeling something heavy, a lot of times we're not acknowledging to the younger people like, "Yo, what do you see?" and help them navigate through their emotional experience. I mean, that's one. I guess all of us may not have access to young people, which is great, but the first thing you would want to do for yourself is take a minute to breathe and allow yourself to process what you're experiencing. And then once you process it, once you dealt with the emotional experience, look in the mirror and ask yourself, where can I make a difference in my local community? Where could I do some good for somebody else?
Do you have any
Because by
examples
doing,
for entrepreneurs? Like
yeah, I mean, all of us as entrepreneurs, if in their business or within their community.
both?
Yeah. Well, in your business, depending on what you do, like if you're a person that's part of your content creation has some type of what do you want to call it? Personal development aspect to it, professional development aspect to it. You could talk about strategies on how to bounce back when you get punched in the gut,
Mm.
right? You could share with with your audience that you're struggling too. You could reveal part of your humanity to let them know that they're not alone, right? In the community wise, there are probably some folks who have like a food bank, a food cupboard, where they need volunteers to help, package boxes or to move stuff from a truck. There are probably areas in the community where you can start to volunteer to maybe make a difference in someone else that's struggling in the moment. Because a lot of times when we give, we don't realize how much we're actually receiving in a benefit, because now we're helping somebody else. You're actually helping yourself when you're helping other people. So those are two examples off the top of my head.
I,
One of the main things I would say is that if you have a platform, one of the things is to express your humanity to your audience, to let them know that they're not alone through these tough times that we're experiencing together within. A lot of times people are so afraid because they want to um like they called it like the butterfly syndrome. Like they want everything to be butterflies and rainbows all the time, and it's not. I'll give you an example. So we know Mark Ruffalo.
not off the top, no.
Yeah, you do. The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, now I do. Yes.
Yeah. So they had the Golden Globes recently, and they were asking him a question on the red carpet, and he just let the human side come out. Like he was like, "Why are we even here doing these awards when somebody had just got killed? Like this is trivial." Like that was a human moment, which caught the interviewer off guard. But he was just expressing like, "Hey, we're all human too." And sometimes this stuff doesn't make any sense because we're getting dressed up in tuxedos and we're giving out awards for movies when we just all witnessed a tragic loss of life.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like people don't want these two things to mix together, but we're all human beings and it's all mixed up. It's not, the world isn't black and white, the world is gray. And the more that we admit that the world is gray, the easier it'll be for us to connect with people.
Yeah. I think that um, what you said is right on point, and I think that we can use like you said, depending on the entrepreneur, if they have any sort of personal development or leadership type roles in their business, they can use technologies to bring people together. We shared multiple resources over the years about different types of communities or groups or things you can use to bring people together, where you can um, encourage people, bring people together. So I think that's where some of the technology can be used to bring people together to um, encourage one another. I think at the same time, we have to be careful because uh, the climate is so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like, you want to try to encourage people, but people want to share their opinion on what they think, and their when you have clashing opinions, that's not always the best view. And a lot of times on social media and these places, anytime you express your opinion, you may be exposing yourself to some other people's opinions that may directly clash with yours. And I think that a lot of times you
And
have to
yeah,
be careful about that.
so what I would tag into that, Greg, is I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting you take uh, an opinion. What I'm suggesting more so is you share a point of view. And the difference is that there's a from a human perspective, you're just expressing what you're feeling and how you're processing, not necessarily saying this person was right or this person is wrong, but acknowledging that something happened that wasn't necessarily a good thing for us to watch, right? We're watching, and keep it real, we're watching executions on film, right? You think like 50, 60 years ago, we would say like this is ridiculous, right? We're like we were making fun of this with the movie Running Man. Remember Running Man was like, it was like, oh, we're watching like people get killed on TV. Like we were saying, they were saying this would be the future, but we were like, oh man, that's not real. It's not real. We're actually seeing documentation, and now again, this is not new. I mean, this has been happening for years. It's just that everyone didn't have a camera phone. And now everybody has camera phones, which is why you had like 10, 20 different angles, right, of the incident. So what I would suggest, my thought is not necessarily sharing your opinion on the situation, but giving insight to the humanity that you're experiencing in the moment.
Yeah.
And when you lean into the humanity to show someone that they're not alone in what they're feeling, um, and so one example, I'll give a shout out to Dr. Will. Do you know Dr. Will?
I think so. I think if it's the same Dr.
What's
Will.
what what's what what's doc like? Cause Doctor, he's in Texas, right? He's like doc. What's Dr. Will's last name? I want to make sure. Like, let me pull up my social media here real quick, cause I'm like, I want to make sure I don't say the wrong last name. Dr. Will Moreland, because I was like, I know, I had a brain glitch for a second. Dr. Will Moreland had a great post about what he was seeing, sharing, and it was coming from the fact that here he is, um, um, he was bringing all the aspects of humanity that he represents: Black man, Christian, business owner, entrepreneur, military veteran, right? And just sharing his point of view, um, from and again, all the point of view is how you see the world. And I'm not saying you're doing that from as a judgment, but saying this is what I am feeling in the moment. I know that some of you may be feeling the same thing. I want you to know that you're not alone. And here's how we can navigate these things together so we can have a greater impact on ourselves as a collective. And one of the things that Dr. King said is that, you know, we're all interrelated. What
Mm.
I do here in Pennsylvania has somewhat of an impact on what you experience in Texas. So like we're not on an island by ourselves, that we are interwoven. So having a, a a shared humanity is important, because what one does eventually is going to have an impact outside of their community. It's like it's not just in your household, it's not just in your neighborhood. It's like um there's a interconnectedness between all human beings. So that's even more relevant now because people are connected on these social platforms. So you could say something or impact someone's feelings, or but so I'm not suggesting they share their a political opinion on what they think happened. Like right now, we're not saying I don't believe I'm hearing us say a political opinion, but more so that we were bothered by what we saw. It bothered us so much that you asked me about getting. I was already thinking about it because I have um well, just to make it clear, like for those who don't know, like yeah, I am a revolutionary. So like I'm not my wife and daughters already know what the insurance policy is. Like I'm not going to be living on my knees. I'm dying on my feet. So it's like that's just how I'm built. Everybody's built differently. Um, but I'm not suggesting everybody take a stance. I'm just suggesting that we share that the stuff touched you. It hit you, and um your audience is probably feeling a certain way as well. And you're what you can do, and Jonathan Sprinkles does a really good job at this as well. And as another example, is like what's based on your expertise, what is your point of view that can give some clarity for folks in the midst of the chaos? How can you be a light in the midst of the darkness? How can you um, give some empowerment in something that is disempowering? And when I'm describing, Greg, for those of us who didn't grow up in like the Black church, this is pretty much every funeral we've ever been to, where it's like everybody's sad, but then the preacher gets up there and then people start like shouting and dancing, and like you thought we were burying somebody, but then like they give them a jolt of hope, they give them a jolt of of joy momentarily. I mean, that doesn't
Right.
necessarily end the grieving process. Like the grieving
Right.
process doesn't stop, but for there's something that they inject the audience with as an inspiration in the midst of the chaos. And I mean, you think about um, when they had the incident in South Carolina when the guy shot up the church and President Obama came in and just dropped like a little drop of hope and got everybody singing. So those are things that all of us have the ability to do if we dig in deep and say, "Hey, I'm going through something. We're all going through something. We're going through this together. You're not going through it by yourself. And here's what we can hold on to. We can hold on to this. We can hold on to this kind, whatever that. And again, that point of view is going to be different for everybody based on what their business is.
Yeah.
Based on what product or service offerings they have. Um, I was looking at it in terms of for myself, it's like what can I do to spark a positive conversation out of a negative situation? What can I do to to help people see that there's something they can do to gain their power back when they might be feeling disempowered? You may not be able to do work in Minneapolis, but you can do work in your community to help fight what you might see as an injustice or to help correct an error on a local level. So get involved someplace, get out of yourself and use this as a spark to get off the couch. Use it as a spark to get out your house. Use it as a spark to engage in civil discourse. Use it as a spark to exercise your political power when it comes to the vote. It's not about who you vote for, but use so these are the things I'm saying. Like sometimes you need a smack in the face that hits really hard for you to realize that you've been on the sidelines too long.
Mm. Man, that's powerful. And thank you for that. And listen, we are going to we're going to wrap on that note because I think that it's important that you know that if you may be feeling something from these events, you are not alone. And um, just like Jerry said, this could be the spark. You can do something in your own community, in your business, and you have to decide and determine what that is and to do something to lift up yourself first and then others around you second. Jerry, I want to thank you for being here, man. Thank you for sharing. Um, just want to bless you and your family. And guys, next week, tune in for another exciting episode of Technology Tuesday. We'll be sharing our thoughts, our resources, any and everything we come across in this world of entrepreneurship, business, and technology. Jerry, with that, man, I will talk to you again next week. Take care.
All right.